Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
America is struggling with some major issues, but the Republican Party, the conservative media, and commentators are highly fixated with the definition of a woman. Is that really what's keeping Republicans up at night? The United States is facing many major issues that require attention and solutions. But how is it possible for us to move forward as a collective if the citizens are consistently manipulated, undereducated, misinformed, or are given little to no information about their communities or country? I have noticed a major culture war item gaining traction among conservatives. That is, what constitutes a woman?
What is a woman?
It's like, what is a woman?
Can you define what a woman is?
How would you guys define a woman?
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
What is a woman?
You couldn't define what a woman is.
This appears to be the issue keeping Republicans up at night. They are salivating at the opportunities to pounce on college students and to catch individuals off guard on the street, with the sole purpose of winning an argument to gather sound bites. I don't think you need to be some sort of genius or professional debater to understand that. Winning an argument or debate on a particular topic does not mean that you are correct. Feel free to ask any married couple. I am confident they will validate that statement. But if you're still not convinced, here is an example. Suppose I were to debate Neil deGrasse Tyson on time dilation, and he decides to fabricate his entire argument. Highly likely I would still lose that debate. Why? Because I'm not an expert in astrophysics.
Man, you are one pathetic loser. No offense.
None taken. So preparing your talking points ahead of time and ambushing unsuspecting individuals is highly disingenuous. These are the same individuals who, when invited by their peers to have substantive debates on social and cultural issues, run and hide for cover. I digress. Now let's look at some of the major issues facing the United States. We have a dysfunctional healthcare system, but it appears that Republicans' most pressing issue is defining a woman.
How would you define what a woman is?
We have an eroding K-12 education system, but Republicans are going from college campus to campus asking students to define a woman. We have more school shootings than the westernized countries combined, but Republicans appear to rather focus on defining a woman than having a good faith discussion on comprehensive federal gun control legislation.
What is a woman? Define what a woman is without reference to the word woman, please.
Women in Republican-led states are losing their reproductive freedoms. But it is more pressing for Republicans to define a woman than to ensure that a 10-year-old rape victim is not forced to carry that child to term. For context, this is how young a 10-year-old child is. Let that sink in for a bit. Maybe they want to just, define a woman so that they can use that information to start a campaign to help restore women's rights. I suppose not. America is experiencing a rise in white supremacy and domestic terrorism, but instead of helping to forward the conversation surrounding racial relations, racism, and hate, and to bridge the racial gaps in the United States, Republicans want to talk about what constitutes a woman.
What is a woman? Can you define that?
We have a global human-induced climate crisis, confirmed by almost 100% of the world's scientists. But the likelihood of getting that information from Fox News and other conservative media is virtually nil. But you are likely to hear them talk in full detail about what a woman is.
Can you define what a woman is?
Half of the population lives paycheck to paycheck, but Republicans are obsessively concerned with the definition of a woman, instead of joining the efforts to secure a $15 an hour federal minimum wage. We have an income and wealth inequality problem of historical proportion, but Republicans would rather you focus on defining the word woman than help pass legislation that would ensure large corporations pay their fair share of taxes and pay their employees a living wage.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
We have politicians in the fossil fuel industry and big pharma's pockets, but Republicans believe it's more important to find the definition of the word woman.
You couldn't define what a woman is.
Not to mention, a former US president tried to carry out a coup to prevent the peaceful transfer of power, and he empowered his followers to participate in a deadly attack on the US Capitol. Still, Fox News and other Republican media decided that the January 6 House Select Committee's findings are not important enough to share with the Republican voters.
Fox News making a programming decision. It's sticking with its primetime lineup on Thursday, Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity. This is instead of showing the January 6th Select Committee hearing concerning the Capitol Hill riot.
We're going to get a test now with these January 6 hearings, at least on the first one. We know that Fox will not be airing them.
2 nights from now, the January 6th committee will hold its first public hearings live in prime time to lay out the evidence to the entire nation of the plot to overthrow an American presidential election by conspiracy and violence. And most of the nation will be able to watch those hearings. We, of course, will be covering the hearings right here, as will all major broadcast networks, but not the viewers of Fox News.
I cannot help but conclude that Republicans believe that it's more important to talk about what constitutes a woman than to have real conversations about the problem facing ordinary Americans. Now let's recap. We have a dysfunctional healthcare system, an eroding K-12 education system, a school shooting pandemic, women are losing their reproductive rights, a rise in white supremacy and domestic terrorism, a climate change crisis, an income and wealth inequality problem. Citizens are living paycheck to paycheck, a political corruption issue, and the consequences of Donald Trump's attempted coup. Now tell me, where do you rank the definition of a woman among these real-world issues? And why are Republicans not talking about these problems? My guess is that the Republican politicians, the conservative media, and commentators just don't give a f***. That's our show, folks. Thank you for watching. Before you leave, please subscribe, smash that notification bell, give the video a thumbs up, and leave a comment. And be sure to tune in next week for a discussion on President Biden's failed policies and broken promises. Thank you and see you next time.